A decline of 2,000 football players across the state. A quick Google search shows Ohio isn't the only state seeing that decrease. So what's leading to the decline? As Danielle Dwyer shows us, concussions are a big factor, but there's more to it than that.
Go! Drive, 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 drive! Good.
It's that time of year again. Football season kicks off this week for high schools nationwide. But with each passing year, some area coaches are continuing to see a decline in participation.
We have 36 now in our top 3 grades, and we used to be always mid to upper 40s, and then a separate freshman team.
Okay, water down. QBs, get loose.
Bill Inselman is in his 26th year at the helm of Patrick Henry. He's seen football numbers dwindle the past 2 seasons. This year is no exception. With lower enrollment, the Patriots dropped down a division.
Go!
Inselman says one factor is demographics.
We are getting to be a smaller school district. You know, we're not close to a big city. We're losing a lot of manufacturing jobs. A lot of the young kids are moving out of the district. So a lot of ours is demographics.
Coach Inselman isn't the only one seeing a decline in roster numbers. According to JAMA Pediatrics, football participation peaked in 2008 at 1.11 million athletes, but has since declined by almost 5% in 2017.
I think it's the questions that we see: is it safe for my kid to play? Do they have too many concussions? Is this too severe of a concussion? And as a physician, that's a hard question to answer.
Ever since 2009, when the NFL acknowledged for the first time a link between concussions and long-term problems, and then in 2015 when the movie Concussion came out, Dr. Ryan Shapila has seen a growing amount of concern in parents.
That's obviously a concern for parents and the developing brain and the younger kids. Is the other question: when's the right age to hit? What should we be doing?
With more research, education, and awareness, Dr. Shapila says more safety measures have been taken in recent years.
We have computer testing now that can kind of get a little bit more out of it to see if they're back to a baseline or see if they're still having some cognitive functional issues. We have a return to play protocol that actually stresses the brain and just doesn't say, hey, your symptoms are gone, go ahead and return back to full contact or return back to full sports activity at that time.
He adds that parents need to grow their awareness and really consider, is their child ready?
There needs to be further research, and I think as a parent, I have young children as well, and you have to look at it on a case-by-case level. As my child developed.
And these risks are something Coach Inselman takes into account during practice more so now than before, especially with less numbers and more knowledge on the issues.
We are doing less contact. We're doing less hitting because we cannot afford those injuries. We're adjusting our practice schedules a little bit.
Let's go.
As concussions grow concerns around football, some athletes are turning to other sports to fill their time. But that poses another factor to declining gridiron numbers: specialization.
Here we are really embracing the idea that we want kids to play multiple sports, and we're trying to share our athletes. So I think that's less of a factor here, but I have heard that being a factor in other schools where coaches are tugging at athletes and don't want them playing multiple sports.
But according to Dr. Shapila, specialization poses risks of its own.
Now we see repetitive injuries, and we see a higher degree of burnout, and we see maybe a month off sometimes, maybe 2 weeks for some of these athletes that play in these leagues all year round.
They also attributed video games and a wider variety of sports to choose from as other factors. But despite all these factors, with football being so widespread and the NFL being the highest revenue sport, neither men see a major decline happening anytime soon. However, it wouldn't be surprising if more and more smaller schools and youth programs start feeling the effects of dwindling numbers. I actually talked with a local school who faced this issue for decades, and we'll have that story tomorrow at 6 on WTOL.
And interesting how you brought up that even though the focus certainly of your package was football, it's being seen in other sports. Soccer you mentioned, but also hockey.
Hockey is another big one that they talked about too. It's not just football, but football is so in front of us almost daily now. Monday night, Thursday night, you have Saturday and Sundays between college and the NFL. So it's more in front of you than soccer and hockey are as far as seeing concussions, and the CTE, with all that research, it's been brought to the light more. So that's why it's focused more around that sport.
We'll definitely have to see how this plays out in the years to come. Danielle, thank you.
Thanks for that informative story.